Chapter 15. The Hunt. The prince hadn't left his rooms for months. He was held captive by his fear and anger, which were mounting by the day. The only servant he now saw was Lumiere, and he was rather oblique on matters of the household when the prince inquired. He stood there, holding a small gold candelabrum, making sure not to cast light on his master's face, or his own, for fear of showing the pure terror he was trying to conceal while looking at the prince's form. The prince looked ghastly, pale, and worn. His eyes were like black pits, and his features were becoming more animal than human. Lumiere had the heart to tell the prince that everyone else in the castle had become enchanted after he broke Tulip's heart. It became clear to Lumiere that the prince did not see the servants as they saw themselves. Whatever he saw was horrifying. He kept going on about statues moving about the castle, casting their eyes in his direction when he wasn't looking. Lumiere and the other servants saw nothing of the sort, and not a single person on staff wished the prince harm. Lumiere knew it was only a matter of time before he, too, was transformed into some household object like the others, and then his master would be left alone with only the horrors that were conjured in his mind. Lumiere wished there was another way. He wished the prince hadn't taken this path, dragging the entire household along with him into darkness. How he missed the young man the prince had once been, before cruelty overtook him and besmirched his heart. Mrs. Potts had reminded them with stories of what a promising young man he had once been, and Cogsworth still had held faith the prince would change his heart and break the curse. They all did. In the meantime, it was up to Lumiere to take care of him as long as he could. "Won't you please go outside, Prince? You are withering within doors. You need to see the sun and breathe fresh air." The prince dreaded the idea of anyone seeing him as he was. After the ruin of Tulip's family, his malformation progressed beyond his wildest fears. He looked like a monster, like a beast. Clearly, there was nothing he could do to break the curse. The sisters had lied. They had never intended for him to be able to break the curse. All his efforts with Tulip were in vain. Lumiere was still standing there, waiting for his answer. The prince was only reminded of that when he heard the man clear his throat. "Yes, man, I heard you. I will go outside, but not until nightfall, and I don't want anyone lurking in the halls to catch sight of me. Do you understand? I don't want to see a single soul. If someone is afoot, they are to avert their gaze from me." Lumiere nodded in understanding. "Shall I arrange dinner in the main dining hall, sir? It's been some time since we've had the opportunity to serve you at tableside." The prince felt sickened at the thought. "We shall see. Now go. I want to be alone." Lumiere left the room, stopping in the hall to speak to someone. The prince got himself out of bed for the first time in weeks. His body ached and was stiff, so stiff he found it surprisingly hard to make his way to the door. But the voice sounded like Cogsworth's, and he desperately wanted to see him. When he opened the door, he expected to find the two men talking, but only found Lumiere. "What is going on? I heard you speaking to someone." Lumiere turned around in fright. "Only to myself while I was winding this clock, sir. I'm sorry to disturb you." The prince was losing his temper again, spiraling into a dangerous rage. "Balderdash!" I heard Cogsworth's voice. Lumiere looked sad at the mention of his name, but the prince persisted. "You mean to tell me you weren't speaking to him? You haven't seen him at all?" Lumiere, still holding his brass candlestick, calmly replied, "I can say with all honesty, sir, it has been some time since I've seen dear Cogsworth in the flesh."